Now that we have a better understanding of many of the key terms associated with Lightroom, we can return to our Preferences panel and continue our discussion on external editing. So remember that external editing allows us to take an image and edit it in an external application. And the first option here is Adobe Photoshop CC. In the File Format menu, we can choose which file format we want this image exported in. And normally it's a good idea to have TIFF selected. Next is the color space. We can either use ProPhoto RGB, Adobe RGB, Display P3, or sRGB. We now know that ProPhoto RGB is the largest color space with the widest color range. For this reason, exporting images in this format at 16-bit color depth will preserve the highest level of tone detail. So I'll leave it as ProPhoto RGB. The bit depth really depends. If you're going to be working with JPEG files, you can leave it as 8-bit. If you're going to be exporting RAW files or DNG files, you'll want to change that to 16. The next thing we can specify here is the resolution. This is another important concept to understand when it comes to photography. Resolution refers to the pixel density in every square inch of your image. The higher the pixel density, the better the quality. To better understand this concept, take a look at these two identical images in this illustration. The image on the left has a pixel density of 72 dots per inch. The picture on the right has a resolution of 300 dots per inch. We can clearly see that the 300 dpi is a better overall quality shot. The image is sharper and has a smoother transition of colors. It's best to set the resolution between 240 to 300. This will ensure that the image retains optimal quality regardless of what you intend to use it for. To obtain good quality prints, you require a print resolution of at least 300 dots per inch. For images destined for a web gallery or only to be viewed through a monitor, a resolution of 72 to 150 is sufficient. We'll leave the default setting because we can always reduce the resolution of an image later on without losing quality. Keep in mind that the same is not true if you try to increase the resolution of an image. This will lead to quality loss and a distorted image. The next setting we have here is compression. Compression refers to reducing the overall size of an image so its file size is smaller. This translates into preserving more disk space, which is its biggest advantage. The two types of compression methods here are zip and LZW. Both of them are lossless compression methods. That means that no data is being lost in the compression, unlike JPEG compression. The only disadvantage is that compressed images require more processing time to open and close in your editing application. Although with high-performance processors in modern computing systems, this issue is negligible. You can leave the compression as zip. The second option group under the heading Additional External Editor allows you to specify a secondary external application that you can use for editing. For example, if you don't use Adobe Photoshop CC, or perhaps you use a different version, you can select it by clicking Choose, and then picking the application that you'd like to use on your computer. So I'll go ahead and select Adobe Photoshop CS6 because I use that more often than CC. If you don't have a secondary application that you'd like to use, you can ignore these settings altogether. And the additional menus here are the same as what we just covered up here. Stack with original. We've mentioned before that image adjustments performed in Lightroom are non-destructive. This means anytime we make a new adjustment to an image, a new image is automatically created. By placing a check mark in Stack with Original, this option will ensure that all images are stacked together. This will make more sense when we perform adjustments on our sample images, so don't worry about it for now. Edit externally file naming. This last setting here gives us the option to configure the file names of images which are exported for editing. You can see in the sample file name that a dash and the word edit are attached to the end of the file name. So earlier, when we opened an image in Photoshop and we saved it as a TIFF file, you'll notice that Photoshop automatically added the edit extension to our file name. And that's where this comes from. There are many other options available in this pull-down menu. If you click on Edit at the very bottom of this menu, there are a number of customized settings you can apply. Right now, you can see in this text area, we have the file name, a dash, and the word Edit. And that's what you saw in the preview. Since most of the settings here are fairly easy to understand, I'll exit this panel and leave the default setting. If we wanted to add the date, for example, I could click Insert, and now the date would be added as part of the file name. And you can see the example 2005 has been added. I'll go ahead and delete that because we don't want to include the date. So I'll hit cancel because we've made no changes.